Welcome to this edition of FPD Roll Call. For those of you who didn't see the last edition of the FPD Roll Call, that was Officer Harmon's last episode, and then I will be taking over as the Public Information Officer and Community Relations Officer for the Florissant Police Department. This episode we're going to cover code enforcement within the city. I have two guests here with me right now. I have Mayor Schneider, and then I have Aaron Tossey, who is the Deputy Building Commissioner. Thank you for coming, guys.
Oh, good to be here.
Thank you. Mayor, we're going to talk to you first. Can you tell us about the continued commitment to the residents and the businesses to maintain the property values within Florissant?
Yeah, Craig, obviously the protection of the residents is the most important thing, the most important service that Florissant has to offer. And we always put our top priority on police enforcement and the safety of our residents, our business community, our visitors. But our second most important priority is code enforcement. We need to ensure that the property in the city of Florissant is maintained and continues to have that high quality of living that we've experienced for a long time, that the Florissant residents have come to expect of our beautiful city. And to that end, we've been working on some plans. Our code enforcement had a little bit kind of gone a little bit we got a little bit behind on the workload. We have reduced our staff in the past, under the past administration. We had some budget constraints because of the decline in the economy, and so we reduced personnel throughout the city. And probably one place that we probably shouldn't have was in the code enforcement personnel. So recognizing that we had a large challenge on our hands and that we needed to get it right and to get caught up and to implement a program that would serve us well into the foreseeable future, we hired a new deputy building inspector. Our plan reviewer is his official title, but he's really the top guy to kind of supervise our code inspectors and our code inspector effort. And I challenged Aaron Tossey to come up with a game plan to present to the council for increased personnel, and he did that last summer. I'm going to let Aaron tell you a little bit about the challenge that we were facing, and also to explain some of the recommendations for remedies that he came up with.
Sure.
Thanks, Aaron.
Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity to be here. A number of years ago, through various challenging budget issues, inspection staff was reduced. At that time, coincidentally, various other workload items began to increase as well through annexation, as well as an increased investment in real estate, both commercial and single-family residential. Due to that, the workload of the building department began to increase while staffing levels really inevitably had to decrease at that time. And that culminated last year, 2014, when the amount of work that we were doing in 2014 was nearly double the amount of work that we were doing in, say, 2008, 2009. And because the citizens rely very heavily on the building department to maintain property values, especially among residential streets, we were faced with a pretty serious problem. We were falling behind, and the citizens aren't satisfied with that, especially from our exterior property maintenance program. And so what we proposed was an increase in staff levels in order to take care of single-family residential inspections, exterior property maintenance inspections, as well as various commercial inspections. All that combined with somewhat of a boom in 2014. We had a declared construction costs in 2013 of approximately $14 million, compared to a declared construction cost in 2014 of approximately $60 million. So you can see how the community was leaning heavily on the building department. So we really had no other choice but to push for an increase in inspector staffing.
obviously the city keeps moving forward, and we've, like you said, doubled our construction costs from 13 to 14. Any new programs as far as the Florissant's priority for the needy home repair program?
I wanted to touch on the personnel. We added two full-time inspectors. We've hired one. We're in the process of interviewing the second one. We have a new plan reviewer, clerk typist, assistant to the plan review team. And then on the ground in the neighborhoods, we have two new Class C men in the health department. Okay. To help with because what we do is when we have vacant property and we can't get the landlord to maintain it, we maintain it from a aesthetic standpoint so it doesn't stick out like a sore thumb in the neighborhood. When all else fails, we actually go in and do some maintenance on unoccupied property so that it doesn't become an eyesore for the neighborhood. On occupied property, then we have an increase in citations, taking them to municipal court, trying to compel compliance not only from the occupant but also from the landlord. And we also have a program where if a landlord gets to be a problem, we revoke their occupancy permit so that they can't get new occupancy permits on any of the properties that they own. So we've implemented those changes in our procedure. In our ordinances, and the council's been very helpful. The council's been very supportive of not only the ordinances that we need, but also the personnel that we need. One last position that we added was a civil engineer because our sewer lateral program is a very active program, and that's increasing as our city ages. We have more sewer lateral issues. We have a program where people pay $28 a year. It used to be $50. We reduced it during my administration to $28 a year. Each household pays. It's kind of like an insurance program. For if your sewer lateral fails between your house and the street, we have a program to repair that at very little cost to the resident. So that is increased. So we have an engineer to help monitor that, and also to we have a lot of other things that are sort of engineering related where we need that technical expertise. So now we have 3 civil engineers on staff, the public works director, the city engineer, and a civil engineer.
Great. Both of you spoke about new development in the city. Can you tell us about some of the new businesses that are coming into town?
Well, obviously we have a Walmart under construction. Will open this year. That has and Aaron can tell you what kind of inspection load that requires. That's a superstore. It was built without any public assistance from that Florissant approved. Right. We turned down their request for TIF, and also for CID, which is a tax at the property. They did get a transportation development tax, but that was approved by a court, even though we objected to it. But so that's a large project. Aaron, you want to talk about how much inspection effort that requires?
Yeah, with regard to Walmart, we had to send 2 inspectors for 2 hours twice a day, every day, especially during the concrete pour stage. Currently, we're under roof, and they're pouring slabs interior, finishing walls, but that required essentially 4 inspector hours every single day of the week.
And then in addition to that, we have a lot of other projects that are much smaller. One of them that just opened was very exciting was the new Culver's. Yeah. That was probably the most anticipated new restaurant, maybe in my memory of Florissant. I think they are probably going to set a weekly attendance record nationwide. They came just short of the first day. They came just short of setting a record for their first day open. Wow. So that's a very dramatic thing. But we have that. We have a renovation of a former Del Taco, which is now Sweetie Pies. We have Jimmy John's coming pretty soon. We got an Emo's coming up pretty soon. We've had the renovation of the Value City project, a new Firestone store. There's just been a lot of new construction. We got a car wash under construction. You want to talk about some of what it requires to inspect those types of facilities?
Well, those types of facilities, many of those require a ground-up construction. So you have to work with, of course, all the service utilities, as well as all the excavation. And so when you build a building from the ground up, you know, you may be talking about months of inspection as opposed to a number of weeks. And it definitely takes a team of inspectors to do that with the various disciplines, et cetera, coordinating that with St. Louis County as well.
And on renovation, how much effort does it take? Like if you're renovating, like the Club Fitness renovated the former Michael's location, and Sweetie Pie's renovated the former Del Taco, and so forth.
When you're taking a building and turning it into, you know, changing the use and renovating, it is a little bit less. With the Club Fitness, that was quite a large project. I think that the exterior interior totaled somewhere around $1 million. That, because of the size of the building and some of the other exterior issues like parking, it does take, let's see, 3 or 4 inspectors working together to coordinate all that information to make sure that they comply with city ordinances, as well as we get all the interior inspections during construction at all phases of the interior construction.
Great. Well, it seems like 2015 is going to be a pretty busy year, so I'm sure all the new employees will be very busy and keeping up with all the inspections and businesses and residential and things like that. So is there anything else you'd like to add before we take a break?
You just kind of sum up our goals and objectives as far as once we do get caught up, then we're going to be in a position to be more proactive in doing drive-bys and walk-by inspections. It's something that we just couldn't help but get behind, because we had, you know, when we have people that are looking for their construction permits, their building permits to get some work done, we don't want to slow that process down. We want the progress to continue. So the last thing we want to do is be an impediment to progress.
Our goal in the city is to inspect every single-family residential home at least once a year, and that was not getting done. Our current goal is to inspect every single-family residential home twice a year and respond to complaints, which also about doubled this year. So we want to make sure that we keep ahead of the game before those complaints come in, spot those properties that are problems, and work with the situation until we get some type of resolution, especially with regard to the residents that are in the city that expect a clean and beautiful city. In addition, another thing that has increased the workload of the building department is the significant investment in the school district. There was a little over $30 million of construction investment in the Ackerman and North County Tech schools, which has, as well as Walmart, taken multiple inspectors, multiple hours each day to cover all that construction inspections.
Well, thank you very much, Mayor. Thank you for coming in. Aaron, nice to meet you, and thanks for coming in. We're going to take a break, and when we come back from after our break, we will talk to Chief Lowery and speak with him about the code enforcement on a law enforcement level. We'll be right back.
Packers, Vikings, Packers, Vikings, Vikings.
Red state, blue state, vegan,
Carnivore.
We come from different places.
Uptown,
downtown,
night owl,
early bird.
We come to different conclusions.
Half empty,
half full.
But when we live united, we create real, lasting change in the building blocks of life. The education, income, and health of our communities,
Live
our families,
united.
Even the person next to us.
Live united.
Real change won't happen without you. So give, advocate, volunteer, live united. Sign up at liveunited.org.
Welcome back to the show, and joining me now is Chief Lowery. Thanks for showing up, Chief Lowery, and for the show again. This is your second one in 2 months. So.
It certainly is. I appreciate you having me on today.
No problem. And we just got to talk to the mayor about code enforcement, and it was more of a public works aspect of the of the public or the code enforcement. So could you give us a little bit of a law enforcement aspect of it?
You know, the police department, we're committed to the code enforcement of all the residential and, of course, business properties. We know how important it is for the entire city to maintain the property values and, you know, either maintain or hopefully increase the property values in our city. And we do that with 2 police officers. We just assigned Officer Kummer to this, and they're out every day, Monday through Friday, working on properties. Probably one of my chief complaints from our residents is the properties, and they want to maintain their property value, and of course they would like their neighbors to do the same. And we get I get a lot of calls, a lot of complaints from the citizens about the neighbor's property. I mean, nobody wants to live next to the dirty house, the bad-looking yard, the cars that are unlicensed. So they certainly they call me on a daily basis. And I have two great officers, Officer Kummer and Officer Schlottig, that go out there and they do a great job enforcing those codes. And I do want to say this also is that that's their primary job. However, each and every one of our officers that are in the uniform division, they're responsible for also maintaining the property values and making sure that our codes are enforced. So that every day they're out there also, they're patrolling the streets looking for violations also. You know, and the nice thing is that of course I get 100% support from the mayor and the city council on this initiative. They make sure that that we're doing that constantly. I get calls from the mayor's office, the council members. They'll call me every day, and or they'll call me with complaints about different properties, and right away we get on it and we get the ball rolling. Sometimes it takes a little longer than people probably want. I mean, we try to get people to do it right away, but unfortunately there is a process, and we do give people warnings. And then, of course, if they don't, give them 30-day warnings, 10-day warnings, depending on the violation. And of course, if they don't comply, if they don't comply, obviously then a summons is written and it goes into court, and then it's Judge Boyle will deal with the issue then. But unfortunately, sometimes people don't always cooperate right away, and if it goes into the system, it could take 3 or 4 months, possibly even longer, for those properties to go into compliance. So people must be patient and understand when they do call, we do right away, we go out there and we get the ball rolling and we start the process. And of course, if we have to tow a car off a property, that's a search warrant. That takes additional time. But believe me, when the citizens call and they complain about a property, or we see a problem on a property, we certainly address it right away. But sometimes it just takes a while to go through the process.
Sure, I think everybody can respect that. Yeah. Now, as far as signs have been an issue in the past with people posting signs on different easements and posts and things like that within the city, there's a new program that you implemented within the city. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, about a year ago, we looked at different ways to handle that problem. I mean, the signs are on the right-of-ways, the I buy ugly houses, the real estate, the open house signs, things like that would draw a violation of our city ordinance. And we had such a large amount of them, we try to find a way to deal with that issue. So now what will happen is that an officer will see one of those signs in the street corner. He'll take a picture, remove the sign, then he'll get a hold of our code enforcement officers, and we do what we call a robocall. And what will happen is that the person whose telephone number is on there, they continue to get a phone call from the robocall, and once they finally answer it, it instructs them to come to the police station, and then we issue them a summons once they come to the police station. But a very great program. I think that it's definitely drastic decrease in the amount of signs that are posted on these corners, and believe it or not, that is another big issue with our residents, that they don't like seeing all those signs posted. It's not good for the city, and so it's a program that I think done a great job in addressing that issue.
Now, I know you encourage our department to be involved in the community and things like that. Are our code enforcement officers involved in a state program?
They are. They're both members of the Missouri Association of Code Enforcement. It's a great organization. They meet every other month, and the nice thing is that they go over, they train together, they work on state law together, things like that they can do, come up with ideas that maybe Eureka's got a really neat program or something that they are addressing code enforcement, and then they share with our officers and they bring that information back to the city, and it's a program that we probably implement. So it's really good to interact with guys doing the exact same job and trying to keep the property values in their cities the same way as they share information of the things that we do. And I think it's been it's a great thing for these guys to be involved in. I mean, regionally, there's a lot of things that we can do for code enforcement. So I think it's a good program, and it's great for these guys to be members of that.
Great. Well, I thank you for coming on. Do you have anything else to add before we take a break?
No, I don't think so. But thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief. All right. Stay tuned for more on FPD Roll Call. Welcome back to the show. Our next guest is Officer Sean Kummer. He is our newest code enforcement officer for the police department. Sean, thanks for coming out.
Thanks for having me.
Why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourself as your duties with the police department?
Sure. I've been here just shy of 18 years. I've started with the police department. I've done everything from corrections officer to canine officer to crime scene investigator, field training officer. Now I've had the opportunity to be a code enforcement officer.
Great. And so what are the duties of a? We've talked to the mayor. We spoke about the public works aspect of code enforcement. We talked to the chief. Now we're talking to you as a code enforcement officer. You're the boots on the ground. What are your duties? What are you looking for? Tell us about what you do on a daily basis.
Well, obviously, this is the police portion of the type of all the code enforcement codes we have within this municipality. Myself and Officer Schlottick, which is we split the city in half. We primarily are looking for just about anything. We work kind of like as a real closely with the Public Works Department and the Health Department, and we kind of go back and forth. You know, if we see a problem that the Health Department needs to address, we contact them. Public Works also, and then a lot of times we all get together at the same time and address a problem, because usually where there's one problem, there's other problems for the other departments need to handle. But primarily we're looking for obviously the signs that the chief had mentioned, you know, with the robocall. That was also implemented through one of our meetings that we had, through MACE, which is, you know, so the interaction with other code enforcement officers is fantastic. But primarily it's like a lot of vehicles. We have a lot of problems with vehicles, unlicensed, derelict vehicles, vehicles that are inoperable, vehicles that are parked on the grass. So basically the situation, how we deal with that, is we deal with, you know, we'll issue a warning first. It's if the property has never received a warning. We check the history, see what kind of history we have on it. So we'll go ahead and give a warning. It can be anywhere from 2 days to 7 days. And a lot of times the residents will contact us going, no, we didn't know, it just expired last month, and we're okay with that. You know, we'll say, well, you work with us, we'll work with you. You know, just kind of give me a timeline, keep me inside the loop. You know, it's sometimes as much as 30 days. You know, so this is not an issue where we want to hammer the residents of Florissant. You know, and then after that, if we have to, we do issue a summons. You know, it's not quite like the same thing as a speeding ticket. You know, it's not really a penalty. It's just saying now you have to come to court and talk to the judge. And that usually gives them about a month or so. And then what we'll do is a lot of times the court, all they want them to do is be in compliance. So what they'll do is they'll go ahead and get their vehicle license or removed from the property or put inside a garage. That's another thing, you just put inside a garage. I'll kind of backtrack also. A lot of people believe they can put a tarp over their car. That does not correct the problem. So what we'll do is they'll correct the problem, and we'll go ahead and we'll do a check on it, and then we'll send a compliance letter to the court stating the vehicle now, or the violation has now been corrected. So they can go and just pay a court cost on it usually. Sometimes the court will require them to go further and talk to the judge, but most of the time it's just pay the court cost instead of a big fine or big penalty. But sometimes, even after that, they don't get, after the court hearing, the first court hearing, sometimes they don't even show up, or they don't take care of the problem. They might just pay the fine. So what we do is we have to go one step further. We actually get a search and seizure warrant for that vehicle or that piece of property. And at that point, we now contact the prosecuting attorney's office through Florissant, and also the judge who signs off on the search warrant, and we execute those search warrants. And we've towed anything. I believe there was actually once an airplane that was going to be seized at one time from somebody's backyard. And recently we just took some cars from somebody's backyard. The yards aren't huge in Florissant, but it was amazing that you can get 3 cars in the backyard.
Right. So basically what you're saying is there is a ample warning time between the time that someone actually, you see a violation to the time that they actually would receive a summons or a search warrant, and you seize their vehicles.
Absolutely. It's at least before from beginning to end, and we're talking about the end being the search and seizure warrant, that can be 2.5 months usually, because we want to let them have due process through the court. And sometimes the judge will go ahead and give them extensions. I mean, I've seen 3 or 4 month extensions. And obviously that's the Justice Center we have. And once again, we will work with you. This is not, we don't want to punish the residents of Florissant. We just want to be in compliance, within the codes that that their councilman had voted on.
Right, so we're after a common goal of keeping the city beautiful, like the mayor said, and keeping it a good place to live and maintain property values.
Absolutely.
That's essentially what it's doing.
That is correct.
Okay. How, obviously the chief said that's one of his main complaints is code enforcement. How do people get in touch with you to report a problem? If there's residents that see an issue that they want you to take care of, how would they get in touch with you?
Well, first, we definitely encourage the residents to report all problems, small or big. we want to address them. A lot of times they can contact directly the police department. As the chief said, all police officers do code enforcement or they do on a little lower level, smaller level than what Officer Schlottick and I do. But you can contact obviously the 314-831-7000 number, our general information line. You could also contact myself through email, which is skummer, Kummer, @florissantmo.com, or Officer Schlottick's email, which will be probably brought up at the end of the show.
Okay. He's got a little difficult name to
Yes,
spell
he does.
on the air. So.
Right. And then the final, which is a very underutilized tool that we have, is actually through the website at www.florissantmo.com. And right there, we actually have a complaint form that goes, I believe, to your office. And what that do, and it goes directly to us then from you, and then we can address those problems. And we address those fairly quickly, because otherwise we're just doing on view, where we actually see the violation. And a lot of times there's a big problem that we never see, because the city's very large.
Sure.
And there's only 2 of us that do it on a full-time basis. So, and we don't want these small problems to become big. And a lot of times the residents will get irritated, because they see the same problem. So we definitely want to encourage the residents to utilize these tools that we have. And then if you want to contact by phone, we can just contact the general information, and it goes direct to my voicemail. And I check it every single day, Monday through Friday.
Great. Well, I thank you for coming out. Anything else you want to add before we go to break?
No, I think that's it.
All right. I
Okay.
appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Officer Kummer, thank you. All right, and we'll be right back with the December crime stats. We'll start off with the robberies. There were 6 robberies in the month of December. On December 1st, in the 400 block of Howdershell, 900 block of Charbonnier, and 1900 block of Washington. On December 2nd, at Woodin and South Waterford. On December 5th, Florissant Valley Shopping Center. And December 11th, in the 700 block of Mater D. Next, there were 14 burglaries reported in the month of December. They were reported at the following locations. On December 2nd, in the 700 block of Floorland. On December 5th, in the 2300 block of North Waterford. On December 6th, in the 2300 block of Stirrup. On December 10th, in the 900 block of Fifth Plaza. On December 11th, in the 400 block of Lula. On December 12th, in the 1200 block of Mark Twain. Also on December 12th, in the 1500 block of Millbank. On December 15th, in the 1500 block of Lilac. On December 17th, in the 800 block of Kevin. On December 21st, in the 1200 block of Knight. On December 25th, in the 2200 block of Floridon. On December 26th, in the 1500 block of Paddock. On December 27th, in the 1000 block of Wycombe. And on December 29th, in the 1000 block of St. Brendan. Next, there were 7 motor vehicle thefts in the month of December. They were reported at the following locations. On December 11th, in the 2400 block of Allen. On December 17th, in the 13,000 block of Newhalls Ferry. On December 19th, in the 1st block of Canary Court. Also on December 19th, in the 1400 block of St. Anthony. On December 22nd, in the 1st block of Florissant. On December 30th, in the 3000 block of Country Green Court. Also on December 30th, in the 1500 block of South New Florissant Road. In the month of December, there were 57 stealings and 17 reported property damages. And before we end this episode of FPD Roll Call, I'd like to reiterate to everyone how important it is to not leave your vehicles running and warm them up during the winter months. It's nice to get into a warm car and have the windows defrosted. However, the police department's seeing an increased number of motor vehicle thefts due to people leaving their cars running and unattended while they're warming them up, and the vehicles are getting stolen. So please try and refrain from doing that. While it's not a good idea to leave your vehicle running unattended, it is also against city ordinance to leave your vehicle running unattended on a public street. Well, that does it for this episode of FPD Roll Call. And if you'd like to contact the police department for any reason, please notify us at 314-831-7000. In an emergency, always dial 911, and on our website, www.florissantmo.com/police. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next episode.